My guest at this time is a 20-plus year WWE veteran referee who is also one of the hosts of Aftermath TV. It is our good friend, Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Oh, thank you for having me back. Always a pleasure to join you, my friend. It's you know what? I get asked to do some of these things, and this is the one I always say yes to because I love talking to you guys.
Hey, brother, we like talking to you, Jimmy. You're the steak to my sizzle. You're all the meat. I'm all the flash over here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, if you want to put it that way, I'm not going to argue with you. Let's just put it that way.
definitely gives the conversation substance. I'll put it like that. So,
Okay.
anyway, well, Jimmy, I wish we were. I mean, it is New Year's Eve here, right? So that's
hmm
good. We're about to have a new 2021, but we're all kind of ending the pro wrestling year on like a bit of a melancholy note. Now, I
Yeah.
know that Brodie joined WWE shortly after you left
hmm
WWE, so you never really got to referee any of his matches or work with Brodie. I wouldn't imagine, but. What's your reaction to his passing? Do you have any memories of the man at all?
I have met him. He, like I don't want to pretend that I was really good friends with him, like a lot of the boys were, but limited interactions with him were always positive. He was always upbeat. He was always friendly, and very respectful too, which was kind of like the cool on my end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting that from one of the boys. You know what I mean? That I didn't have the pleasure to work with, but um, man, it you don't hear it very often where someone is so universally loved like Brody was, and it is really sad. I think more about obviously the industry lost someone special, but I think more about the family. I'm a family guy, and and yes, the wrestling community is your extended family, but you know what I mean. It's tough, and I'm thinking of them right now.
Well, we had a lost conversation the last time we recorded because I dropped a cup of coffee on my keyboard. But it was during that conversation that we lost. I had just watched back No Way Out 2006. Of course, we had the conversation about Eddie's passing and the way his
hmm
legacy was handled. We got a very opposite version of that last night on AEW with the
Yeah.
celebration of life. I don't know if you had any thoughts on the way that the show came across last night.
It was very emotional. Like it brought to mind, and I hate to put it this way, and I hate to put it in a business sense, that I forget who the veteran was. I want to say it was either the late Danny Hodge or maybe even Rip Rogers. Somebody, a quote way back when was, "We don't sell motion in this business; we sell emotion." And last night for me, that's what it was. It was emotion. I saw and felt from the boys, from everybody, how much they felt about Brody. I sensed it. It was genuine, and you can complain about this company did this and this company did that. I thought it was very nice. It was nice to take a break from, your regular storylines and stuff like that, and just pay tribute to someone. It was a little different. It was nice. It almost reminded me of the Raw after the passing of Owen,
Yeah.
where everything was just put to the side for one night, and let's just remember the man.
Yeah, and I also kind of thought about the Pillman Memorial show that I've seen, or
Mm,
clips of that I've seen, because I was watching because it was I knew that it was a very powerful night when my girlfriend goes, "Are we watching AEW tonight?" I don't know that she's ever asked me that, Jimmy,
right,
right? And
right.
so we sat there and we took in the show last night, and I told her I was like, I see stuff more like this usually on like the indies or some kind of like mutually agreed upon show
hmm
with like all the promotions say, sure, go do a tribute show. You don't really get to see this stuff brought out to the surface. I almost want like I'm not going to say that the casual fan was engaged by it, but I wonder with a lot of people who don't really get to see this side of the business, I wonder what they thought watching this show last night.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought because obviously, to the hardcore fan, it hit home.
Right.
That's the question, like, and that's the challenge now, industry wide for AEW, WWE, for everybody, is to try and bring back that casual fan that has been lost.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe that helped a little bit. Maybe that said, hey, these people have, something.
They have heart for sure,
hmm
and on that note, I think a lot of people tuning in last night, you're watching this and the Dark Order just came across as this, I mean, obviously because of the circumstances and everything, just hugely sympathetic entity. I
Yeah.
mean, do you go back to making these guys heels? I mean, can you do that? I mean, what do you think you do with the Dark Order after a night like last
That's an interesting question. I think maybe. I hate to say this, but yeah, you can make them heels. Um, I don't want them to put down the legacy of Brody, but at
Sure.
the same time use that to fuel them into this nasty group and saying, listen, our leader is gone, whatever, just tie it in somehow, but it's going to be hard to do tastefully, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. I wonder. I'm very interested to see where the pivot is, because the Dark Order was presented completely different last night, and then, of course, last night on the show as well. A big part of it was his son, Brodie Lee Jr. What did you think of those closing moments there, where they gave him the belt, brought out the boots, and of course the moment that he had where he, smacked MJF with that kendo stick, which was very
again, very emotional. It touched me really that they went through those lengths to do that for his son and for his family. And again, like I said, the wrestling community is a family to some extent, but your actual family being brought in as well. And I wish I could put it into words. It got me. It really got me.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting story to watch with his son, like 10 years from now. Where is he at? The heir apparent to the Dark Order. Is the Dark Order still around, kind of deal,
And if they are, does he come back and take it over?
Right, exactly.
Like you guys are ruining my father's legacy.
Right.
Or something along those lines. I don't know. I'm just fantasy booking 10 years, a decade ahead.
I know that's but I mean, it's a very unique long-term story AEW's got over there. Last thing coming out of Dynamite last night that I wanted to bring up was Eric Rowan, or Eric Redbeard now, I believe is what he's called. He showed up, man. He got to get into some melee action there. I was really happy to see he was there. What do you think of the appearance? Would you like to see him stick around? Do you think there's a place for him in AEW?
I'm sure there is a place for him in AEW. I mean, obviously right now it's challenging because they don't have the advantage of doing live events, house shows, whatever you want to call them. They have one show currently. I know they have the YouTube show as well, but just one national television show. If they can get that second show up and running on TV, I think it would benefit a lot of talents, not just Eric Rowan, but here's a big guy, obviously friends with, close to Brodie as well.
Yeah,
there's a place for him there. There is.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder, him in the Dark Order would be really interesting. I don't know if he's the leader or the guy came back, but the old friend or something, but very different.
More storylines that you can tie in 10 years down the road.
Yeah. Let's jump over to WWE and their storytelling. I'm going to start with the Raw stuff. We could talk SmackDown here in just a second. But Jimmy, what do you think about what they're doing with the Fiend and Orton and all this fire stuff? You a fan? Not a fan? What do you think of what's going on here with these guys?
Again, I think it's tough because I think, you talk about crossing a line and I don't know. You see, we talk about the Attitude Era and all the crazy stuff that went on there and stuff like that. I get toning it down, and at the same time, I know you want to ramp things up, but for me, setting someone on fire is maybe just taking it a step too far. I don't think they needed to go there. You could have alluded to the fact, it's like what they did with The Undertaker, for example, where he was put in a coffin before set on fire. You didn't actually see the person on fire. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different this time. I think that was a little much showing, regardless of whether that was the Fiend lying there or not, or a dummy or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
It's still the visual was there, and I think it was a little much.
Okay, so for you, are you intrigued by this? So does this make you want to see what's going on? Because the word on the street here is there's going to be some kind of other big grandiose gimmick match that these two are going to have at Royal Rumble. Does that intrigue you or no?
Yes and no, only because it intrigues me in the sense that how far are they going to take this?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I'm looking forward to these guys getting back into it. It's more like, okay, what is the next level that they can go to?
Yeah, it's the steak sizzle comment from the top of the show, right?
Yes,
a lot of sizzle, but like, where's and again, I think that's something I hear from a lot of people is like, I don't know who to like here. Right? Who am I rooting for? Right? Am I rooting for Dexter murderer Randy Orton, or am I rooting for this psychotic, satanic Fiend kind of character?
Right.
Very bizarre, man.
It is bizarre.
So what do you think's going on with Raw right now, man? Because like SmackDown seems to be like on fire, and then like when you remove the Fiend Orton stuff, I mean, her business is great, but they're top they're top mid. They're not in the title picture kind of stuff. Drew's good, but hasn't found the right dancing partner since Orton. Keith Lee's another baby face. They're going to put him in there with on Legends Night. What do you think's happening with Raw right now?
I think they're see, I think it's a bunch of little things as opposed to one big thing. But if you're going to pick on one thing, I think they've gotten into this groove of, I don't even want to call it a groove. It's kind of like this formula where it's the same every week, you know. Opening promo starts the show and you get into it and you set up what's going to happen later and stuff like that. Change it up every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, change the formula. Open the show up, go right into a match, something like that. I think they've gotten into a rhythm that has gotten, for lack of a better word, stale.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, we're getting some good matches. We've got some great talent on the show. That isn't the problem. I think it's the formula that is not working right now. And the fact that it's 3 hours is tough, especially in a week where there's so much wrestling on. Obviously, you don't want to give up that extra hour since USA is paying for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, 3 hours is a lot every week.
The way you describe it, it feels very like WWF 93, 94, right? Where there was like all these great workers, but then Vince was just like forcing in these over the top characters and like gimmicks and stuff. And the guys
Right.
that were really used to wrestling and going out there, you know, the Bretts and the Bam Bams and, you know, all those guys, it didn't click at that time. And
No, and that's the thing too. Yes, sometimes, again, you have some great talent in there, and sometimes great wrestling matches alone don't sell to the larger audience. Obviously, it's going to appeal to that to the wrestling base, but sometimes the more casual fan wants to see some intriguing characters, and that's the thing that's kind of missing a little bit right now, is that intriguing character that somebody can get behind. Like you mentioned SmackDown earlier, you look at the current iteration of Roman Reigns, man, that guy's hitting on all cylinders right now. He's knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
And people are getting emotionally invested in his character.
Yeah.
As well as his matches. He's been delivering as well. But you got to have both.
Yeah. Totally. And Jay for that matter.
Yeah. No, he's really, honorable mention. You got to mention Jay because he's really stepped up in this program as well.
And like that, you feel that you can put yourself in Jay's shoes, right? I think that what's interesting is like, I don't know that everyone can put put themselves in Roman's shoes, right? Like that top alpha male type deal. But I think everybody can relate to the Jey Uso. There's somebody over you that's making your life miserable and you don't know what to do, you know, kind of thing.
Like an older brother, an older cousin, someone who kind of, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. A boss, you know, whoever it may be, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
And on that note, man, the formula you just described where you were like, you know, get to a match or something like that. SmackDown did their best viewership of the year this past Friday night on the Christmas episode. They did over 4 million for the first hour, and they went right out of the football game into a cage match between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. And yeah, talk to me about the logic there. Why you think why was this so successful, Jimmy?
Again, you're coming out of a football game, so you know you're coming out of a large audience, and some that may have been wrestling fans that haven't tuned in for a while, and then you go. The first thing you see when you tune into SmackDown, you know, somebody will say, I'm going to leave it on here and see what's happening. They see the cage and all of a sudden they're intrigued and they go, oh, let me see what's going on here. So they stick around, and then you get Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens delivering the match they delivered. It was smart booking, in my opinion. Very smart booking.
Totally, man. And like the match delivered, and I thought, you know, SmackDown, there's really not a whole lot of weak points in SmackDown. I know a lot of people say it's only 2 hours, but I mean, it still takes a lot to put together a really good 2-hour show, you know?
No, it does. It does. Obviously, 3 is a little more challenging, but 2 hours is still a lot of TV.
It's a lot of TV. So we're on the road to the Rumble now, Jimmy. Daniel Bryan is announced. He was the first. Bobby Lashley now also in. Who's your favorite to win the men's Rumble this year?
Oh man, I wish I could pick someone out.
Open field, pretty much.
It is pretty much an open field. I would have a little while ago. I would have picked a Keith Lee, but right now he doesn't seem to be a top contender for me to win the Rumble.
I agree.
It's very interesting. Do we get a surprise? Do we get somebody come back like a Brock and want to challenge Drew? And let's see if we're going to get an audience this year, because that was the only thing lacking from Drew's victory last year over Brock, was there wasn't an audience to take it in and get that live feed, that live reaction. Will it be the same with a Thunderdome kind of setting? I don't know, but hey, maybe legitimizes his win over Brock last year. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you know, the obvious one here seems to be Daniel Bryan, right? I mean, he's the first to announce. You know, he's got this thing where he's never won the Rumble. and he's working with Jay and Roman right now going into the Rumble. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Is Daniel Bryan somebody you'd be interested in seeing back in that main event picture going into WrestleMania this year?
I'm always interested in Daniel Bryan. I enjoy his work. I enjoy his work in and out of the ring. I think he's developed well outside the ring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as his speaking and his promos and stuff like that. He's like that ultimate underdog character you can get behind. And when I say underdog, I don't mean because he's not good at it. I mean, you know, that perception of being the smaller guy and that sort of thing. But you know what? Yeah, I fit him in. I don't want to lump him in with Rey Mysterio, but those characters you can get behind. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. I think that's a pretty good parallel. You know, a lot of Daniel's booking. I mean, not entirely, right? Because they're different people, but there have been a lot of very similar underdog moments between the two.
Right.
I don't think you're out of school saying. I mean,
Okay.
the whole Daniel Bryan phenomenon started because Sheamus beat him in like 8 seconds at WrestleMania. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
tossed aside there. So, so with that said, going into WrestleMania this year, I mean, I think we both agree, Roman Reigns incredibly hot, awesome. Whoever he goes up against at WrestleMania, do you think Roman Reigns should lose at WrestleMania this year?
See, that's a tough one. Obviously, you want to anoint the next huge baby face on SmackDown, but who is that right now?
I mean, the people are tuning in for a baby face right now, Jimmy. They're up about. I looked from where they were when Roman came back. I think they're up at 400,000 viewers consistently. So the guy's whatever hole was there, he plugged it, and the boat is rising again. You know, with this guy up top.
Exactly. So do you want to pull that plug just yet? Is there still more life? I think there's a lot of life left in this character. I'm maybe a little too soon to pull that plug at WrestleMania, but then again, who knows? Maybe you start something different there, where Jey Uso has enough and costs Roman Reigns the championship at WrestleMania, and then you could take him out of the title picture for a while, and he kind of has his issue with his family, the family squabble, and then he gets back to it, and I don't know.
See,
I mean, there's so many possibilities. My brain is going,
I think if Jay costs Roman a WrestleMania match, I don't think there'll be a squabble. I think there'll be a dead body Roman's thrown off the bridge that night. So.
Well, we have burned someone alive, so well, anyway.
Why not in WrestleMania with Roman just chucking Ray out into the ocean there?
It is in Tampa, right?
It is, yes.
I know the bridge there very well. Yes.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well,
never mind.
You know, they say some guys know where the bodies are buried, but you know, the ones that know where they're floating. That's.
I have no idea what you're talking about, my friend.
Couple of last things I want to ask you before we kind of just reflect genuinely on the year that was 2020. Big E, where do you think they are with him right now? I mean, they put the IC title on him. You the vibe they're solidly behind Big E at the moment?
I would like to think so, but I think they're still, for lack of a better term, testing the waters a little bit. I think they want to see how the hardest part is, like we've mentioned before, without a live audience there to get that live feedback and that live reaction, it's hard to tell because you're using the canned noise and the canned reactions and that sort of thing. But I think they have something here in Big E that could really, really flourish into something huge, and maybe eventually go into a title picture with Roman Reigns. Maybe him and Roman could. I think there's money there.
A lot of people saying Big E could be the guy this year's Rumble, you know, pick up the win. And, you know, I don't know if you see IC champion versus Universal champion, keep the titles on them. But, I mean, it is a clear-cut babyface heel dynamic with those two. That much would be clear.
Yes.
Right.
And that's the problem I'm having lately, not across the board with many companies, is that shades of gray. I'm not a big fan of that color, shades of gray, because throughout history, and people can say, yeah, but he's cool, and he's no. Throughout history, what sells tickets and what sells people on buying pay-per-views and stuff like is the good guy wanting to see the good guy beat the bad guy's butt. And you know, it's a simple formula, but it still works to this day.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And like that was one of my things watching the AEW show last night. I was like, my God, where do you go with Dark Order now? You know, like everybody loves him too much.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I would be down for something very clear cut going into WrestleMania with those two. All right, last thing here. What about Charlotte coming back at TLC? Do you like the pairing of her and Asuka together at the moment? You think
for now, because they had a great heel women's tag team that they split up for some reason and then put one of them back into a tag team. I don't know why they did that, but that's a different subject for a different day. Charlotte coming back, kind of like her with Asuka, but I would have loved to have seen her come back as a single, because Charlotte, that's her wheelhouse for me.
Mhm.
Not that she's bad in this tag team with Asuka, but her wheelhouse is as a single and being somewhat like her dad and being the star, the focal point.
Yeah.
And I think now this takes some of the shine off her, but at the same time, maybe it eases her back into the picture, because she has been off for a while, and sometimes you got to ease your way back in. And who knows, maybe this is her setting up something with Asuka down the road.
That's what I'm thinking here, man. Like, I gotta believe Charlotte's gonna pull the plug and just destroy Asuka at some point and just go heel and go for that title. I mean, I think that's what this is all softly building towards somehow. I don't know if it happens to the Rumble, but these two, I mean, the tag champions, you're 4 months out from WrestleMania. There's a lot of kind of figure eight storytelling you can kind of do with that. I think that's where we're headed, is Charlotte Asuka right now.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling as well. And I think that's probably, you mentioned WrestleMania, which is the next big event after the Royal Rumble. That's maybe where they finally face off.
Oh yeah, dude, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'd put money on it at this point. Like, I guess it's because I've convinced myself in my head.
There you go.
once I get emotionally connected to an idea, it's hard to. I'll put money on it at that point. I'll
I know. I tend to stick to my ideas, and hard to get me off them sometimes too. So just ask my wife.
Yeah, well, you can go to Twitter every Monday if everybody wants to see exactly what you're emotionally invested in that day. Am I right?
Exactly, and the ref and rants are meant to be fun at the same time. So I have more fun seeing that it pushes people's buttons. I don't get what they get so wound up about, anyways. But that's just me.
And you don't have to be offensive or anything. Like it's the kind of stuff where it's like some people like the Rolling Stones, other like the Beatles, right? And you come out and say why the Rolling Stones are better. Well, then you got a bunch of Beatles fans up in your hair,
No, they're both good in their own way. I like both groups. I'm a Beatles guy myself.
Okay,
like if I had to pick, no, I like the Rolling Stones. Don't get me wrong, but as far as groups go, I grew up listening to the Beatles. You know what I mean?
Sure. I don't know. I like something with a little bit more bass. I'm a Rolling Stones guy myself.
Well, that's cool, but we can coexist. It doesn't have to be okay. That's it. I'm coming to Chicago right now, my friend. Oh wait, I can't cross the border.
Me down. Sorry, just kind of going off into wild horses. I think I'm gonna get sued.
You know what? Let's just let it be.
Shut up,
I had to do it.
I'm gonna paint it black. We're gonna go to black. Is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, easy with that cup of coffee, my friend.
All right, you're right. I'm gonna put it down. We're close to the end here. Hey, before we do our highlights, because I do want to end with highlights, lowlights of 2020. I have a few write-ins here from our staff. I went over to our Slack. I got we picked some of the best. You mind just answering a few random questions here?
No, sure, cool.
All right. First question here: how does Vince interact with referees as opposed to wrestlers?
He's not as hands-on as he is with the wrestlers that he is with the referees, but at the same time, when he sees something that he really liked, he will acknowledge it and say thank you, and point it out. And if he sees something that he thinks you can correct, he will point that out as well. But he generally leaves the referees to the agents because they are less I don't know. There's this persona that surrounds Vince that maybe he feels like he may be too intimidating to him.
Did you ever get on Vince's radar? Did you ever do anything that he didn't like and made it known to you?
Yeah. I mean, nothing totally egregious. Just stuff like, hey, when you're in this position, you have to sell it, but don't overdo it. Look like you're genuine and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just little things. But I can't. Nothing really hits me off the top of my head that I got chewed out over. Anyways.
Are referees employees or contractors?
No, referees are contractors. Just like the talent, the same. But some of the referees are also working on the ring crew, and that's a different thing altogether. But as far as referees go, they are considered independent contractors, just like the talent.
All right, and last question here, and I feel like this is the old Ask a Ref. Who did you do? Was that?
Oh, Arda.
Arda, that's right.
Arda Gal, yeah. No, sorry, Kyle Williams.
Okay, yeah, I love it.
Was that his name, Kyle Williams?
I'm dating myself. I'm like, this is why I love talking to you so much. I've been listening to you for like a decade or plus now, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Are referees told ahead of time when they are working a big WrestleMania match?
it depends on what you call ahead of time. You'll find out usually about a week or two before which match you're going to be working, um, but that can change as anybody knows. Card subject to change, but you usually find out at at least a week or two before
Was
which
there a
match.
was there ever a match you got told you were going to work and you were like, like, this is the most excited I've been, like, I'm very happy that I've been told I'm going to get to work this match?
Well, WrestleMania 17, the TLC match, definitely was one of them. But I was scheduled to work a different match at WrestleMania 24, as I've told this story a million times. But I got approached like a week or two before. We were at TV, and I even remember this at Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah.
And Edge comes up to me before WrestleMania 24 and says, "Hey, you got a minute?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." He says, "Come with me." So I went with him. He says, he said, "Taker and I are requesting you to ref our match at WrestleMania 24." And I'm like, "What?" He says, "That I guess I figured, yeah, I guess you guys have the stroke. You guys could do it." And then I thought, this is the coolest thing ever. And then it's, as the week goes on, you're starting to think, oh boy, I better not screw this up. You know what I mean? The pressure's on now, but yeah.
Wow. And then you went on to referee that match, right? Infamous.
Yep.
Close out WrestleMania with Undertaker and Edge, dude. That's does that mean the same to a referee? Is it because like CM Punk infamously was just like upset that he never got to close the show. You did something CM Punk didn't get to do. You actually closed WrestleMania.
Yeah. Technically no, because I did take the big boot from the Undertaker, and Charles did the rundown to count the final 1, 2, 3, which is cool. I don't have a problem with that.
I was like, match. You're still part of it, man.
Hey, I took a big boot from the dead man. That's the thing. That was cool. It's funny because not giving away secrets here, but you're going over the match, and they said, "Well, we want to bump you and have the referee come down and blah blah blah." I says, and Taker just looks at me and goes, "Are you okay taking a big boot?" I said, "But I have at it." You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, that's so awesome, man.
It was an incredible feeling, and I do feel for CM Punk. Being a part of that final match at WrestleMania is like, even for a referee, is a dream come true.
Dude, wow! I just got it. I got the chills. Like my ears here. You really got me. Yeah. Like this interview, Jimmy. So,
cool.
All right. Lastly, we'll wrap it up here.
Okay.
Highlights, lowlights. We'll start with the highlight. For looking back on 2020, what was like the highlight for you? What was your one or two? If you don't have to pick one, what's one?
Okay, no, but for me, it was going back all the way to January is the return of Edge. Yes, he did get hurt later on in the year, but to see him come back and know how genuinely he felt about being able to come back, and in a sense, close out his career when that is going to come. Excuse me, when that is going to come on his terms, as opposed to being told, "Listen, you can't go anymore." So now that return, it was kept quiet. Nobody found out about it. He showed up. Everybody went banana, as the late great Pat Patterson would say. And for me, that was the moment of the year.
Okay, that's a good moment, man. Well, what is your low light of 2020, Jimmy? Looking back, what was the thing you disliked in pro wrestling the most this past year?
Oh my goodness, there were a few things, but if I had to pick so far, it's the disappointment with Retribution.
Man, that's where my head was at too.
I was having all these thoughts when they were invading and doing all these crazy things and stuff like that. And then they get signed to a deal, and then they just became a part of the roster. And I was looking forward to this invading group that's constantly invading and maybe bringing in the authorities to help keep them out of the building. And it didn't go where I thought it would go. And they haven't, to this point, delivered for me anyways. Yeah. I talked before about selling emotion and getting invested in people. I'm not invested in this group, despite the fact that I like Ali.
I love Dijakovic, man.
Yeah.
I like Mia Yim.
Yep. It's not the people in the group, it's how the group is presented.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I wonder if in 2021 they can't turn it around, because like you said, like we put over everybody in the group, right? Shane Thornton, right. Awesome as well. Dio Madden, he was a former football player, so he'll grow into it. He was, he's got the background. But, I wonder if in 2021 they can't turn it around. I don't know what it takes the right opponent. It takes two to tango. So who is the right person or entity to bring out the best in Retribution? That's what I wonder.
It's very interesting, and I know they've got this thing going on with Ricochet right now. But can you imagine that Ricochet sees the light and takes out Ali and takes over the group?
Sure. And you have like an Ali that's been thrown to the side and is now just, out like a lone wolf kind of deal.
And maybe Ricochet is the guy who saves the group.
Yeah.
And brings them back to prominence. I don't know.
I feel like because like her business is like, I think if you had to give, ironically, like an MVP nod outside of Drew McIntyre to Raw, I guess Drew and Asuka obviously is the like pillars of those two top divisions. But her business, man, they've really, refined that group, that act, the feel, the vibe. It's very different than anything else. I'm really optimistic on where they're headed into 2021 as well at the moment.
Me too, but I would like to see them stay more on the heelish side and stop venturing into those areas of gray where they're facing other heel groups and stuff like that.
They are a little too cool for school, aren't they?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, well, Jimmy, we're gonna put a pin in it there. Happy end of 2020. You know, the next time we talk, it'll be a new year, happier year, brighter year, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah. Knock on coffee.
Yes.
Where do you want to send people to find you, follow you, support you, all those great things?
Well, I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in, like with my ref and rants and that sort of thing, and of course up here in Canada, Aftermath on the Sportsnet YouTube channel that we've been on since we can't go into studio right now during the pandemic. But if you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at Jimmy Korderas, on Instagram at Real Jimmy Korderas, because apparently somebody else took the Jimmy Korderas name. And like I said, I do my weekday ref and rants where I just whatever topic hits me, and it's a critique. It's not. I don't have an agenda. I'm not being paid by anybody in particular to pump up one group over another.
These are Okada bucks. This is the only
Are they?
This is the only money I could find around me.
Well, if you want to ship some of those up here to Canada,
Okada buck. These are from the MSG show.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But people could follow me there, and every once in a while follow me here. I get to talk to people like you.